Hello, welcome everybody to our Tuesday webinar. Today we're going to be talking about project management and best practices with that inside of Coda. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Maria Marquis. I'm going to be your host for today. I consider myself the Chief Cheerleading Officer at Coda. I love celebrating our makers, learning together, exploring new skills, and really just creating a space where we can all level up and feel really good about what we've done. So today I do, yes, have some things I want to share with you, but most important to me is that I answer all of your questions, or at least give you an idea of where to go next. So the two ways that you can get in touch with me, over there on the right, a lot of you have already found it. Hey, Alex, good to see you, is the chat field. Post whatever's on your mind there. That's a public space. It's a direct line of communication to me. I also, if you have a question, please use the Ask a Question button along the bottom of the screen. If you click that there, it'll allow you to add it. It'll flag it for me, so I'll very quickly see it. And you can also upvote or downvote questions, so I answer the most important and pressing things first. Those are the two ways to get in touch with me. Now, since we are going to be talking about project management here today, I'd love to know, post a chat over there on the right side of your screen. What do you currently use to manage your projects? Go ahead, pop it over there in the chat field. What do you currently use to manage your projects? Just so I can get an idea of kind of what's on your plate, what's in your tabs, and better make some adjustments there. Cool, Asana, got it. We got ClickUp, Trello, Airtable, Google Docs, Jira. Whew, Hannah, lots of things. Got it. Excellent. A notepad. Hey, Karina, I'm with you right here. This is everything. This is my life, except for my Coda doc as well. Got your brain, unfortunately, Alex. Right on. Excellent. I have another question. When we think about projects, what's the most important thing that you need to track, or what does your tool need to do for you? Go ahead, post a chat for me. What does your tool need to do for you? I want to make sure I understand kind of your goals, because I can show you what I've got in play, but I also want to do a little bit of recommendations and things like that for you. Got it. What to focus on and to do next. Alex needs to assign tasks and projects to other folks. That's right, Alex. I remember you got a lot of folks that you're working with. Okay, tasks and subtasks for Laura. Cool. Easily see an objective status. I'm going to write some of these things down because this is excellent. All right, so we need to know focus. We need to assign. We need to track tasks and subtasks. Here's me using my notepad. And see the objective status. Cool. So how are we doing? Awesome. Okay, great. Any other wish list items, folks, that I should know about as we move through today? Because we will be able to take a look at all of these as we go through. Timeline and duration. All right. And buttons. Of course, Alex. Anytime we can have buttons, it's a good day. All right. Beautiful. So when we think about sort of project management, here at Coda, we often will talk about rituals. This is something that was coined by Bing Gordon, and our CEO, Shashir, is really, really interested in how rituals can really reframe how we think about work. So we have only the most important things on our plate. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, because we can think about project management as a ritual, right? How do we kick off a project? How do we monitor a project? How do we interact with each other during that project? And then how do we close it out? So our working definition for rituals is that they are named. Every employee knows them by their first Friday, and they are templated. Because if we can template these things, it means that we're able to sort of move more quickly, more efficiently, and have everybody be able to learn them much more quickly. So this particular doc that I'm going to walk you through is actually based on this template. I'm going to copy and paste that over here into chat. This was built by one of my lovely colleagues, Jeremy, about kind of all the different phases of project management. And I've done a couple things to kind of adjust and make some sense of it and do some changes to customize. So when we think about a project, there's kind of three different work streams, right? There's the planning, what are we going to do? And more importantly, what are we not going to do? There's then the task management, that tactical stuff. And then there's also meetings, right? How do we then work with each other throughout that time? And then there's a lot of, customized things that happen in between it, but those are really those key phases that we need to go through. So the first thing that I recommend that anybody does when they're getting ready is to think about, how do you categorize and classify your work? So for example, in this particular doc, I've got a couple different categories because maybe my projects fall into different categories, or to your point, Cynthia, maybe these would be different objectives, right? Different goals that we're driving towards. And I've also thought about my statuses, right? Like, okay, when I'm working on a task, I want it to be not started, in progress, complete, maybe under review, maybe I have requested, but you can really make this whatever you want. Also, the thing that I always recommend is you can, if you've got these tables, you can just decide what color you want it to be. Maybe I want under review to be this like pink color. Why not? And then you can actually have that follow you around. So if you think about yourself, how do you categorize your work? Go ahead, post a chat for me. How do you categorize it? What would be in your tables here? Client, then status. Yeah, totally, Karina. You do a lot of client-facing work. So having a table with all of those clients and then also having a table with your statuses. Great. Yeah, and maybe for that situation, you might have, the client is paid up or not paid up. Hey, I love this, Cynthia. Maybe red, amber, green. Yeah, so what we could do for you is we could just go ahead, do /table, anything that you have that's extra. We could go ahead and just add it here. And we'll make this one, which is, I like this, the work stream type. Why not? And we'll just say work stream. I'm just going to close out these two just by clicking and choosing delete. We can do red, amber, and green. And then just like we saw before, we could highlight that. I'm going to make this bold. We'll make the text color red, and we'll also make the background red. And for amber, we're going to make that this color, which is as close to amber as I can get. And we're going to go ahead and choose bold, and we're going to make this one green so that that color follows us through everywhere. And for you, Alex, you can make a table that's rentals, tenants, vendors. Yeah. And Anna, I have some thoughts on OKRs and how we can connect that a little bit more deeply here, which I'll show you a little bit towards the middle of our presentation today. But now that we have these different tables that we can work with, that means that when we come to our tasks, we can just click to add a new column here. And I can then go to choose lookup, and I can pull from any of those things that I did, right? So work stream type, bam. Now I can just go ahead and say, oh, this is red, this is amber, this is green. And notice how all that color work that I did in the table pulls in through here. So I automatically see that just how I wanted to. So that's, again, a flexibility that we have in that particular way. All right, just a reminder here today, y'all, you do not need to wait for me to stop talking. You can post whatever's on your mind at any time. Please, there's no such thing as an interruption in my virtual sessions. You let me know if you have a question by clicking Ask a Question. You let me know if you have a comment or an emotional outburst by just clicking over there on the right into chat. But this setup, it then allows you to have that flexibility, right? So you don't need to remake these every single time. You need that as a drop-down menu. It automatically adds it through. The other nice thing about having this particular setup here is that maybe for your work streams, maybe as new people join your team, Cynthia, maybe they're not familiar with what the work stream is. What you could do is you could add a column here, and we could say the definition. We could say this is all hands on deck. And this could be another definition of we're okay. And green is it's smooth sailing and easy effort, right? But if we think about at our jobs, right, we develop this sort of internal vocabulary that maybe not everybody knows. So now, if I go back over to my tasks and I deleted that column, but we'll just add it back. I'm going to just choose to look up work stream type. And now if I choose red, amber, green, and I hover over that, I can get the definition. So it's a great way to kind of educate people. I know a lot of folks in sales who like to do this for their sales phases, right? What do we actually mean by 50% conviction? Yeah. So it's a way for you to then have those different criteria as they grow and as you define them to be able to have them follow you everywhere where you go. And all of these, you hover over it and you can just see a little bit more about it. So that's that setup piece, really thinking about those criteria. And hey, if you are like, I totally missed my setup phase. Oh no, what do I do? The good news is if you go ahead over here and add a column, let's just say we just did a regular select list. And our select list is pizza, pasta, and Caesar salad. And you go ahead and say, okay, great, we've got a little select list, but you're like, oh no, Maria told me that I should have made that. I missed my opportunity. No, you haven't. You can always just click up here on the top, go to select list options, choose convert to table, and then it'll create a nice new one for you, and you can pop it in either below this table or on another page, entirely up to you. So it's always flexible. You never have to worry about missing the boat. All right, so that's the first bit. Now let's think about the project summary. So we kick off a project. We want to make sure that everybody knows what we're here to do, what are our goals, what are not our goals, and really having an opportunity for anyone who maybe isn't on our team to be able to know what this project's all about very quickly. So this is a handy little template that we like to use where we just include the idea, the alignment. So how does this connect to company goals? What's the problem we're trying to solve, et cetera, et cetera. And this is something that we use here at Coda on every single project that we do. And the nice thing is that you can grab it in any of your Coda docs by typing /, and I think it's called project brief. Yeah. If you just click on this, it's going to add all of that for you. Just like we saw before. So you can always go ahead and grab those things if you like. So we're going to go ahead and just remove that so we don't need it. But this is just some basic typing here, right? We could go ahead and then have, the idea is idea 1, and then we have idea 2. And maybe I want to change this to be like an H2 heading, or actually, no, it's a little bit too big. Maybe an H3. Yeah, that feels much better. And we can do H3. Then we can go ahead and type whatever's on our mind. La, 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 la. We can put in checklists just by typing / and choosing checklists. So here's action 1, action 2. And notice over here along the side of the page, as I play with those headings, I can actually see, oh, idea 2, it's actually kind of indented in, and it just jumped me right there. If I click to user-based jobs and tasks, non-goals, brain trust, pro tricks, right? We can actually see all of that just allows us to click through. And the way that I turned this on over here, this little outline, which is one of my favorite things, is I just went up here to the page options, and I choose to toggle on the outline. I can toggle it off. I can toggle all of these on and off, right? And that just allows me to have that nice clickable option there. So the project summary, this could be something then that you send out to people, or you point people to, or you put it as a link on a slide deck. Again, just allowing everybody to know, what are you here to do? So that's kind of that planning part. But then we get into tasks. And if we think about tasks, this is all about the table, right? A table that allows us to structure all of the information so that for every task that we have all of the information about it in that row. Because the cool thing about Coda here is if I type @ and let's see, I think it's called marketing plan. Yeah. So this is the task. I'm just going to mention it. If I hover over it, I can see all of the information about that task because of the power of this row flying wherever we need to go. So you have that ability. Now, let me take a look at the list of what all of you were mentioning. So the first thing is we need to know who to assign to what. So in this case, one of the things we can do when we want to assign to people is we can use this people column type. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to delete this for now. It's fine. It'll come back. And I'm going to choose to add a new column that's the people type. And we'll just change this to be assignee. And now I have a drop-down menu of everybody who is part of this doc with me. So I could go ahead and add Ellie, Aaron, Glenn. And the nice thing is that if you want to, for these people columns, you can just click on this little top bit, choose the people options, and you could allow multiple people. So maybe you've got multiple assignees. You could have them be notified when they're added so they know, oh, this is for me. You can also have them subscribe to comments as well. So allowing them to get those notifications everywhere you go. That people column is super, super powerful. I'm just going to remove that, and I'm going to add back the one that we did. Just do a little bit of a Control-Z-ing here. There we go. And for you, Alex, one of the things I'm thinking about is this idea of needing to assign people. One thing I would recommend is, actually 2 things I would recommend, is adding some conditional formatting to show where you need to act, and also creating a special view for yourself. So let's take a look. In this case, I want to have it be so that if the person column is blank, I want it to have maybe a red highlight so I can see, this needs my attention. The way that I'm going to do that is go over here to Options, Conditional Format, and then I'm just going to go ahead and choose to add a new rule right here. And the new rule is going to be person. And if person is, I'm just going to click this little menu. We'll choose blank, not blank. I'm going to say if it's blank, then I want it to be red. So now I can very quickly see, ooh, red. I need to take some action. I got to get in there. Yeah. But now you might be thinking, well, Maria, do I have to just like scroll through? I don't want to do that. That sounds like a lot of work. And that's okay. I'm just going to give us a little more space here. And we'll remove this guy. You can actually make a special view for yourself where you need to see all the things that require your attention. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this side of the page. I'm going to go make a little subpage here by clicking that little shish kebab, choosing subpage. And this is tasks to be assigned. Then I'm going to type slash. I'm going to choose table. But instead of choosing to make a new one, I'm going to make a view of something I already have, the tasks table. And in this case, I'm going to filter this view where the person is blank, just like we did when we were doing the conditional formatting. So now we can say, hey, Alex, these need to be assigned, or whatever we want to call our table. And now we can very clearly see what requires our attention. And if I'm Alex and I assign this to wonderful Al, it gets removed from my view because I no longer need to see it here. Now, Alex might be thinking, Maria, I don't need to see all this stuff. This is just a lot. So what you can do is you can decide to hide some of these columns so you only see what you really need, right? Maybe I don't need to see the estimate. I don't need to see the person because I know it's not assigned yet. Maybe I don't need to see the image. I don't need to see the dependency or the workstream type. So we've got all of that looking good here. It's just much more clear to Alex what to do. Yeah. Now, one of you mentioned, I think it was you, Karina, who likes Trello, right? Maybe it would be better to have all of these be looking like a card or something else. Maybe you don't like this table view. It's just stressing you out. That's fine. You can go to options, and there's a bunch of these other tools that you can decide to see it in. I want to see it in a card view, or I want to see it in a detail view. This kind of lets me go through each of these different options. So I can go, great, I'm moving through these two. I can switch through them and decide to assign it however I like. I could see it as a calendar view. When are these things hitting? I could also see it as a timeline, a chart, a board, right? However you want to see it. So it allows you to have the opportunity to change how you want to see things. So this is the beauty, I think, of Coda Views, is that you're able to decide, how do I want to see it, right? How do I want to bring it in? What makes sense to my brain? And Alex can have this view, and I can have that table view, and any changes that I make in either of these locations, that means it's going to automatically hold true over there in Alex's view. Now we see that new one here. Ooh, great question. What is the board style? Good question. Let's actually open up that option just so we can see it again. What board does is it allows you to group. It's sort of a fast way of grouping columns by their status and then seeing them in a card view. So think about this as like, I want to make an automatic Trello board just like so. So if we notice what's happened here, we see it's been organized by not started, in progress, complete. And then we have the cards there. You could always change what you want to group it by. Maybe you don't want to group it by status. Maybe you want to group it by workstream type or estimate, right? You could do it however you like, category. So it allows you to decide how you want it to have happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. It's really just a shortcut because we found a lot of folks like to group their tables and then turn it into a card. So we thought, why not just make it easier? Just go ahead and do that there. Excellent. Okay, so that is the assignment piece, having that just view of like, here's what I need to do to assign. Oh no, that's not Penny in the background. It's my cat. I am puppy sitting my mom's dog, who is a dachshund named Penny, who Alex has seen before in the background of my webinars later this week. So she might be making an appearance next week. All right, so the next thing that we had was this idea of tracking tasks and subtasks. So let's take a look at this. Also, remember, y'all, you can ask questions, right? This is your time. Let me know what's on your mind. I want to make sure that I can support you. So When we think about tasks and subtasks, there's a couple ways that we can think about it. The best way that I like to do it, that makes the most sense to my brain, is by creating a column that acts as a dependency. So if we go back here, I'm just going to go ahead and remove this. Actually, let's just take a look under the hood. What I did is I made a lookup column, which should be familiar based on how we saw the ability to make the lookup of the category, the lookup of the work streams, right? So what I did is instead of looking up to another table, I just said, hey, I want to look up to this table and grab the other tasks. So now from this drop-down menu, I can choose any of these here, right? Launch access, or maybe this is all about calling up Laverne, right? You can have that just as a drop-down. So you can pull all of that information in here and be able to have that dependency. Then if I wanted to, maybe I want to see everything by dependency, I can click up here, I can choose group, I could group it along the left, and now I see for every task, like what are all the things that are part of it. That's something I can do. The other thing that I really, really love, I'm going to just remove this group, is I could actually change how I want to see this by going to options and timeline. And under the timeline display, we can choose full. I can then choose the dependency. So I can choose whichever column I want it to be. And then I can pull it all in and have all of that there. So it's a cool way to do it. Well, let's take a look at why this isn't working. Start date for this row is after the end date. Well, I probably just flipped and flapped these around with how I labeled them. But now we can see all of the dependencies here as well. Okay, got it. Great. Let's take a look at this question, Cynthia. Thank you so much. Let me take a look. Usually gets stuck is when we group one parent task that has a different status than the subtasks and work streams. For example, the parent task could be green, but the subtasks can be a mixture of green and amber. Grouping feature gives all the work stream the same status. I haven't been able to figure that one out. So got it, Cynthia. So I think here, the big thing that we want to think about is what is the purpose of the subtasks? Do we want that to be populating that parent task, or is it just kind of letting us know that these things are all related? So sometimes I find that we want to add a bunch of extra things, but it's actually not helping us make sense of stuff. Here, I often think about, on my phone, I'm taking pictures all the time, right? But how many of them do I actually look at all the time? And maybe we're holding on to it because it's not helping. So I think for you, Cynthia, what I would recommend, instead of using that dependency kind of thing, I would actually use the objective key result model, which I'm going to show you right now. So we're going to call this the OKR model. And I'm just going to type slash, because there's a good team goal right here. I think this is the one that I like. Yeah. All right. So why I like this one is it allows us to see all of the associated subtasks and then progress towards it. So what we can do is we can actually customize this. So instead of calling this objectives, we'll call this tasks, and we'll call this subtasks. And I'm just going to change the label here too. Task, subtasks. And we'll say associated subtasks. And we'll call this subtask. So we've just done a little bit of changing here. But now what we can do is we can actually just add all of the little subtasks that are part of it. And if we include more things here, right, maybe increasing customer satisfaction is totally order pizzas for 85% of customer base. I will happily take this task on. And then we can have our progress here. So now we've got the percent complete. And this is just a quick calculation. Let's take a look at how it's put together. If I click on that, choose the formula, it says, and let's actually give ourselves some space here. Look at the subtask table. Filter where the subtask is equal to this row, so matches the big task here. And then take a look at the progress and average it and divide it by 100. So we're making a nice little percentage. But because we use this template, that's just automatically there. And then we did a little conditional formatting. So if I go to options, conditional format, oops, there we go. It's automatically here, and I can choose The progress, if it is less than 50%, it's going to give me that. But I could change these, right? If I want it to be purple, yellow. And then you have a much clearer picture of how it's working. And then this table down here can be that task, that overarching task table where you could add a bunch of columns like the due date and then the work stream, right? And make that a nice little lookup column to that handy little table that we made before. Here we go, change column type, lookup. And we want this to be the work stream type. Now we can pull that in, yeah. So what we've done here is we've just used a slightly different model for how we're connecting things together. So this might be the way that I would approach it. Cynthia, how does that feel? Oh yeah. Hey everybody, the slash menu, this is how I impress my friends. If you type slash, not only is it going to show you everything that you can do in Coda, right? Like, oh, I want to do a checklist, or I want to do a timeline view, or, oh, I want to do an image, right? But it also allows you to take a look at every single template that we have. So you could say, I want to see the OKR template, or I want to see the voting template, or I want to see the potluck planner, right? So you can use this slash menu to explore all the things that are underneath the hood. But I think Cynthia's just caught up something really, really valuable, which is this subtask table. We can make it have the exact same structure as we had here in this like pre-built task table, right? We could add the category, start, estimate, the person, what status is, an image about it, the dependency, the workstream type, right? We can have it be this big table with all the goodies about tasks. The only thing that we've done differently is we've just then decided to create a nice little lookup column to a bigger table with those overarching work streams. And then we've made another little lookup here that just connects down here. So we're kind of saying, all right, I want to pull for my subtask, I want to pull this down. And for this up here, I want to pull this up. So it allows you to have that nice bit of connection. The other thing that I just thought of that might be kind of fun for you, let's just play around with this. I'm going to make a lookup column to status. And we could say not progress, complete, in progress, not started. What we could do is we could then add some conditional formatting down here. So let's just go ahead and do it. Let's see if what I have in mind is going to work. Conditional formatting, there we go. And we can say if the status, there we go, is not started, maybe I want the subtask name to be gray. So we see that's gray because I haven't started it yet, and bold. And then maybe we want the status, if it is in progress, to be yellow and bold. So we can pull that through. Oh, and actually notice here, I had it just apply to this column, which is not what I wanted. So we can always go back to our options, conditional format, just revisit that, say, oh, no, I didn't mean the statuses. I just meant to the subtask right there. And notice the color is being pulled through. So you could very quickly see, these tasks are yellow, and this is our total percent completion. So that might be another thing you can add there. And let's just kind of finish this out since we did it. We're going to add a rule. Hey, show me those statuses. If the status is complete, let's make it green and let's make it bold. And we're going to have that apply not to the statuses, but to that subtask column. And we also want to have it be a green background. So that might be a good way to bring that through, Cynthia, because you could get then, here's like how this task is doing. I can hover over it and see all the goodies. And I also can do my percent completion to that larger overarching goal. Yeah. Great question, Karina. You can have a column for tasks too, and then group by them, right? Yeah, you could certainly do that. So we could actually decide to group by our subtasks. We could group by that up here too. Excellent. All right, so we kind of hit objectives there along with task, subtask, how it kind of works together. So if we think about duration and timeline, here's where we think about that timeline view. So this was, I think it was your question, Alex, the timeline view. So let's actually take a look we're going to just make a nice one here. Start date. And we're going to do an end date. Add a nice little date column. Just like so. And maybe we want to get a little fancy here. I'm going to add a little duration column as well. So there's a couple ways we can do start end date. The first is if we have a very specific start date and a very specific end date, you can just add those in to a date column. So here we go. Date. Great. So I could say, great, we know this is starting on June 1st. We know it is ending on July 9th. We know this is starting on July 6th. Then we know it's going to end on July 9th. July 9th is going to be a busy day, everybody. 13th. And then we go here to the 23rd and 19. And we go here. So that's one way, right? Now we've got the start and the end date. And if I decide I want to go to my options and I want to see this in a timeline view, we can see, great, we've got all of our stuff. And notice the color coding still holding true. So Cynthia, if you were looking at then the timeline view, you could still see all of that great color work that you've done, right? And then if we think about the timeline display, you can always decide, is there a dependency? Let's just add a new one of depends on. And I'm just going to switch back to the table just so we can see it. Depends on should be added here at the end. We could go ahead and say, this depends on that, this depends on this depends on this, and this depends on this. So now if we pop on back over to our little timeline view, notice we see we got these little like markers. And if it's not going to make sense in the space-time continuum, it shows us as red, right? If these are the dependencies are incorrect, and if it's going to be gray, if it's going to be all right. So this one, we actually need this to be moved. We're actually going to have it land here. And then this one actually needs to happen first. So maybe we want to move this up over here. So you can actually move it around on this little Gantt chart, which I think is kind of cool. All right. So that's one way to do it, if we know the start and the end date. The other way to do it, maybe you don't know the end date, but you do know about how long that task is going to take. Let's just go ahead and remove those for us. We could have duration column and say, this is a 6-day task. This is a 9-day task. This is a 23-day task. And this is a 45-day task. And then we can do a little formula here. So we can actually just add the duration to the date. So I could say equals date. Start date. There we go. And notice it highlights that column for me. Plus, not distance. Where are we at? What are you doing? Plus duration. And we see we're highlighting both of those, and I can check my work. Yeah, that's how math works. I press enter, and now it's there. And you can also switch. Maybe I want this. Turns out this is actually a 50-day task. And then it pops through. So you can do that as well if you want to pull it in. It really, again, depends on how you predict your work. Yeah? All right. The last request that I had was buttons. So buttons are a really fun, powerful Coda tool. And we can see we've got a couple here already. We've got an add objective button and an add key result button. I know, me too, Karina. Buttons, they capture my heart. And I oftentimes think that when I started at Coda many, many years ago in the dark ages before electricity, we actually didn't have them, which was so strange. Ooh, good question, Thanos. Does the start date and duration take into account weekends? So this is just going to be a flat addition. We do have a formula. Let me find it. Working days. Yes. So this could allow you to determine the amount of work days between two dates. That would be something to think about. This also then allows you to, great. So this would be the one that you would use. You would do the start date, net working days, and then if there are holidays in there. So this allows you to kind of do some calculation in that way. Yeah, so these are two little formulas that might be helpful to explore. You just want to make sure that you are accounting for, and the holidays bit is key, because you might celebrate different holidays depending on your location. So just really taking that into account. But here we can see, wonderful, if we are looking at this date and this date, we want to know the net working days between them, it would be this. So that's something you could do. Yeah, great question. Yeah, the formula language has all kinds of good stuff in underneath the hood. which is why I always recommend, just like we do the slash, and I want to search for, let's see, games. Oh, nothing comes up, but that's all right. We can also do equals and search for things as well. Like, oh, do we do an if statement? Do we do anything for averaging? So it kind of allows you to just do that exploration, which I think is a really great thing for us to do. Excellent. So these are two buttons. Both of these buttons, if we right click on them, the action they are taking is to add a row. But notice a bunch of other actions we can take. We can modify a row, delete a row, duplicate a page, copy this doc, open a hyperlink, set a value of one of our controls, which controls are things like drop-down menus, sliders. We can have them push other buttons, and we can also have them notify people or refresh the page. And if you have any packs installed, like Gmail or Slack, there are certain buttons that you can use for them as well. But this button, if I give it a click, just adds an objective here to the table, which is increase pizza consumption, right? And then we could go, all right, do we have any of these? Well, this is actually going to be connected for sure, yeah? And you can also just click on that and be able to start adding new ones. Like maybe you're thinking, oh, you know, we should have one which is explore topping options and perform an A/B test. And then I can just click on this little plus. It's going to add it. And it'll add it right down here. We can then, same thing, add a key result. Where I click this, it's just adding a row, but instead we're doing it to the subtask table instead. So buttons are great for allowing people to add rows, to make changes, and all of that. But they also allow for some other opportunities as well, right? Maybe, for example, I want, if we have an objective and a key result, I want to add them both at the same time. I want to push both of these buttons. I can do slash, push buttons. Notice that's one of the options we have here. And then I can say I want to push the add an objective, and I want to push the add a key result. We'll make this blue. We'll make this a unicorn. Why not? And now if I push that, it's going to add an objective, and it's also going to add a key result down there at the bottom. So buttons can really add a lot of interactivity to how you work. Excellent. Perfect. What other questions do you all have? The other thing that I want to highlight are a couple other pieces of this doc while you're gathering your thoughts and your questions. One of the things I love is this doing a stand-up, right? So maybe every day in a project or every meeting, we want to do just an update, right? We want to add, hey, how am I feeling? So we could click on this button. Notice it adds a row here. I'm feeling this. Maybe I want to have an update. I ordered some garlic bread, right? And then we have this button that says, oh, at the start of every meeting, we just want to archive it. And now it removes all that information. So these buttons, if we take a look, notice it's adding a row, just like we saw, to the status updates table. And then it allows us to just have it be pink. But we could then do some presetting here as well, right? We could say, oh, we want the person to be listed, whoever is the user. Whoever's clicking this button, we want to pull that in, right? So this is a way for you to just get that pulse really quickly. And then you could customize this. For example, my team for our stand-up, we have a column where we add a Spotify link to a song that you're listening to. Ooh, great question, Karina. Can a button do things to two different tables? So what you could do, and this is going to get a little bit fancy, is if we add a button, right? If you've got push buttons, right, you can have these buttons be in different areas, which affect different tables, right? So you can have one button that adds a row here, one button that adds a row here, or one button that adds a row here, one button that that deletes a row or modifies something, and then just have this one push button, push those other buttons, which takes actions on separate tables. You could also do a formula, and you're going to use this run actions formula, which would be all the things that you want it to do. So in this case, the one button would perform a bunch of actions like add row, right? So you can do all kinds of things. Add row. But again, requires a little bit more formula here. But I personally like to just do the button that pushes other buttons. It allows me to have that happen. Yeah, great question. So the status update, again, it's all about really just summarizing and making things work for you. And if you want to get this, you can do the sentiment tracker, I think is what we call it. Yeah, this gives you pretty much that exact thing that we just saw. Lots of options. All right, the next thing that I want to make sure that everybody sees is meeting notes. And there's a couple different ways to do meeting notes, but this is the one that I found I really like because it allows me to hold on to everything while also keeping track of action items. So notice over here, we're using our good friend, the outline, right? I can click into March 25th, 2020 and see it. I can click into April 3rd. I can see everything, right? We can then collapse them if we like. So I really like that ability. And then up at the top, we just have this add an action item. So we can just click on that. It adds an action item here. We can say order 12 pizzas. Y'all can tell where my mind is at right now. And then as we complete them, we can just go ahead and just check them off. And then they get filtered out of our view. So it's a way to have those action items along with the notes. So we can just be typing in here and be able to have the action items as well. Some people do like to have their notes in a table form, which is kind of nice. But I personally like this because it's just really, really easy to get started. The other thing I would just want to make sure everybody is aware of, I'm actually going to go back to our tasks. We talked about when we were playing with the button, right? If we right click, one of the options that we have is to set a control value. A control is something like this. So maybe I want to have this particular task view and I want to be able to search by category. I can click on that drop down. I can choose filter, interactive filter, and create control. And now I've got a nice little drop down menu up here that I can just say, oh, show me all the business things. Or hey, show me business and home. So that's one type of control. But my favorite, and Karina knows this, is the text control. Maybe I want to be able to search because I've got tons and tons of tasks. Well, I can click on this, same process, filter, interactive filter, create control. Boom, I have a text box. Here I can now search for pizza. I can search for plan. I can search for marketing. And it allows me to see all of that really, really easily. So that particular control is really great. But, you know, like maybe for adding a task, we want to change the value of this control to be home for some reason. Who knows? But lots of options there. Excellent. Then the last part that really is the core of this core of this doc rather, is different views. And this to me is the most powerful part of Coda. Yes, the formula language is great. Yes, packs are really cool. Yes, automations are really amazing. But for me, the most powerful part of Coda is probably one of its simplest features, which is having a view of tables. So we have that big old task table. And now what I've done is I've just created different views of it just by going to type /table and then just choosing, instead of new table, tasks. And then, like here, I decided I want to see this task table as the status using that board option. So I just grouped it, I hit some columns, and then I chose to see it in that card view, yeah? The other thing that I did here is I decided I want to see them by category. And here I thought, table actually works a little bit better for me. I just grouped it onto the side. Then we have by person. I just want to see what everybody is working on, right? So Joel, here's all the things that Joel has that are not started. Here's all the things that Joel has that are in progress. Wow, it looks like Joel is working really hard. Got it super complete, yeah? Then we also have it by my tasks. So here, I just want to see only the things that I need to do. And how I did that is I went to my filter, I went to choose the person column, and I just chose this one, current user, which only shows the things assigned to me. Yeah. And then lastly, just a roadmap. So seeing, in this case, how silly our dependencies are. We clearly did not think that through. And seeing this in just a timeline view. But again, you can always drag these around, and it's going to change those values everywhere else. Because all of these views, any changes we make in one translate back to the core base table. Any changes we make in the base table translate here. So this, again, is the most powerful thing, that people can work with your stuff in the way that makes sense to them. They can go to whatever answers the question that they have, right? How many statuses, how many things are in progress? Boom, we see right here, code. And then you can just drag and drop. Oh, code's under review now. Yeah. So it allows you to have that there. I think it's cool too, Laura. Yeah. And honestly, this was the thing that really made Coda click for me is I can have it so everyone has it their way. We can see the same stuff in different ways to help us answer questions, and we don't need to update it in 20 different places. So that is just a real sort of quick overview of some project management options. We have 15 minutes. So let me know what else is on your mind. And remember, I did post a link to the sort of starter template that goes through this process over there in chat, so you can have that there. But the time is yours. What's on your mind? Anything Coda related is fair game. If you need to see something again, if you're curious about something, if you're wondering if something's possible with Coda, anything, just let me know. I am here to help. Otherwise, thank you so much for spending some time with me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope you got something from it. Ooh, love it, Freddie. How about pulling tickets from Jira? How about pulling tickets from Jira? Yeah, let's take a look. We can even add a nice little Jira icon. So one of the options we have, and I'm going to type / because I know we have a template here, is you can do, well, first of all, we can pull in just Jira tickets, and that's just something you can do in a table. But we also have some templates that kind of show where it can go. So maybe we want to connect our Jira issues with our objectives and goals we have. So here, this will just pull in. We can see that we've got our goals up at the top, and this should be very familiar to what we saw with Cynthia's example, right? We see the lookup column that's pulling from those issues down here. And we're just using the Jira issues that are coming through. We can hover over it. We see all the information about the Jira ticket, who it's assigned to, all that good stuff, all the information that's there from Jira. And we have it in this nice big table with all the information we need. And then we can see how we're progressing. This is just, instead of seeing that % complete as a number, we just decided to see it as a scale instead. That's something we can do. Yeah. So that's one way to think about it. You can also, like I said, just if we just type / and Jira, we can just pull in Jira tickets however you like. But there's some really nice templates inside here that I really enjoy. So let's see. Yeah. Let me know if you have anything specific in mind, Freddie. Happy to give you some examples there. Got it. Yeah, I know, Karina, that needing to have a solution for tasks across all accounts, because I know you work with clients who all have their own kind of thing. Yeah. Well, the good news about the PAX situation is we've got a lot of really fun things in the hopper. So definitely stay on the lookout there. Good question. Sorry for a newbie question. No need to apologize for a newbie question. That's what we're here for. No problem. Does Coda have multiple projects, and can you have dependencies between projects? Oh, good question here. So if we think about the power of Coda, let me actually just jump over here. I'm going to do coda.new, which is a great way to just start a new Coda doc. The nice thing about project management in Coda is that you don't have to do it any particular way. So in the example I was sharing with you, we had one project inside of this one doc. But you could decide, I want to do this a little bit differently. Right? You could have a space that's for project A, if you could spell. I can't. You could then have a space for project B, project C. And then you could have little subpages, right? So we can have a subpage, which is, the project A brief. And we could then do / project brief. Add that in, right? We can have that for all of these. Let's go ahead and just change our little icons here. I don't know why a cage is showing up, but why not? A trumpet? Let's just see what comes up. Light bulb. So you can have as many subpages as you like, right? The only thing I would recommend if you're planning to do task management for all of these is to create one page that's called the all tasks area. Then to have a table, right? And have one of the columns, so you have it be tasks, and have one of the columns be project. And then you can have all the other stuff. And I recommend, let's call this project. Oh, hold on a second. I want to actually switch this over to be a select list. We'll call this project A, project B, project C, And we're going to do that handy little trick I showed you, convert to table. We'll just put it below this one for now. We can then add that color coding. Project A feels like a red to me. Project B feels like yellow and a little background. And project C, this feels like a purple. And then having this be just a lookup that pulls from that so we know which project it is. So we can have all the tasks, and then we can come up here and say this is, do a little subpage, call this the project A tasks, and then do a view. So we say table, show me a view of that tasks table. We'll name this the project A tasks. Then we'll filter. The project is project A. That way you have this one big database with everything, and then you're just making views so you can see it in new ways. So that would be a good sort of starting place. Let me know if that helps, Thanos. Got it. Does Coda calculate people, hours, days, week? Example, 4-person weeks equals 2 weeks if 2 people are assigned, or 1 week if 4 people are assigned. Hey, yeah. So again, the cool thing here, Thanos, is that you don't need to rely on the tool having the user interface that you're looking for. You could actually build that yourself. So you don't need to worry about like, oh, is this an out-of-the-box solution? You can actually build that there using a bit of a formula. So let's actually give it a bit of a go here. So how we would do this is we would add a column. And let's make this a people column. And we're going to allow change the people options. We're going to allow multiple people to be on this. So we could be like, great, this is for Maria, and it's also for somebody else, right? And then we would say, let's make this a number column. And we could say this is effort. And I would probably do just like a little bit of an if statement. So we're going to do equals. And I'm going to give myself some space here. And I'm going to say switch if. A switch if works is you just go through a couple different options. So if there's 1 person, it takes 4 weeks. If it's 2 people, it takes 3 weeks. If it's 4 people, it takes whatever. So we're going to make our first thing be if, and I'm going to do shift enter just to give myself some space. If people contains, that would be the value. If people dot count equals 1, and I'm going to put that in parentheses. Then let's make it 4. And then I'm going to do shift enter just again to give myself some space. If people dot count, but we don't want to put a 0 in there, equals 2, then let's make it 3. And let's figure out why this is saying that, an unexpected value. So we expect this to be something else. Found an unexpected people count in the expression. Oh, we just need to put a comma. I didn't finish my sentence there. Yes, totally right, Karina. And then we could say, let's do shift enter again to give ourselves some space. People.count equals 3, then 2. But of course, we also need to have that comma there. Nice. So now we have some options here. So now let's add another person to this column. I'm going to just say, hey, it's going to be you, Al. I'm going to share it with you. He'll be very confused. Wait, Maria, why'd you add me to this? So now we see that it's 3. It just changed. And if we were to remove Al, we see it goes to 4. So we just did a little, this is, I think, one of the most handy formulas to have in our mind is the switch if formula, which just allows you to go through a set of options. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think that's one of the nice things about the thing I come back to frequently with Coda is that you don't have to worry about, oh, does the tool that I have the exact relationship of how I think about tasks? Like, does it reflect subtasks in the way that I think about it? Does it have the idea of road mapping? You can just build that all yourself, however you like. And remember that we have a ton of those templates. If we just click on /, we can get at all of those templates, right? So we can say / maybe I want to look at a roadmap / roadmap. There's a bunch of options. Great. What's this project roadmap one look like for me? Does it work for me? And I can go ahead and see it. Yeah. So just again, it allows you to not have to start from scratch, but to be able to design exactly the way that you want it to work. Yeah. Excellent question, Thanos. Love it. What other questions do people have? Anything else they'd like to see, explore, get clarification on? Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, Karina, thank you so much for bringing that up. The doctorate program is something that is going to be starting with the first cohort in on July 19th. You still can get your applications in by this Friday. And it's a 5-week asynchronous learning program with some live interactive elements with me and some other Coda celebrities, which actually reminds me, I need to write one thing down. There we go. And it allows us to really take our doc making skills to that next level, allowing folks to spend some time thinking through, how do we design the data? How do we design the presentation? How do we design the user interaction? And doing a deep dive on the formula language as well. I'm really excited about it. And if you'd like to apply, let me just grab that for you. Doctorate application. Oh, I'll just go to the gallery. That's where I have it. Freddie, I love your question while the doctorate program is loading. If you want to move some of these items to a subpage and then hide the subpage, how would you move them and keep the connections? So the cool thing is that for pretty much everything in Coda, you can hover over it and it's got that little shish kebab, you see? And you can then drag them wherever you like. And you can drag them wherever you want them to be, and the connections still hold true. And I can do that with headers. I can do that with paragraphs. I can do that with tables. So you can move them around however you like, and the connections automatically hold true. Yeah, super simple. Mm-hmm. That's what we aim for. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, again, you might be like, oh no, I didn't mean to put that there. Just drag it around. You can always change it. Mm-hmm. And then you can always be like, oh, where did I put that thing? Jira. Oh, great. Here's the Jira issues. I actually want to move that back to down here. Yeah. And all the changes will stay true. Ooh, good question. Is there a way to drag several things together? I don't know. Let's see. I might try Shift, or I might try and select multiple things. Let's try that. I'm just going to highlight. So I've highlighted those. Shish kebab. Yeah. So you just want to highlight and then shish kebab over. Yep. Just like Alex said. Perfect. Excellent. All right. So the doctorate program, I'm going to just grab the application right here. Copy and paste. There you are. You can get all the details of it. We like to keep it, again, super simple. You don't have to do a giant essay. We just want to see a doc that's kind of about you, like a resume doc of who you are, what you're interested in, what you've done with Coda so far, and also just a little sample of how you like to organize your to-dos, and then just some simple questions to answer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It shouldn't take hours and hours. We don't want that. Yeah. Yes, Alex, I am reviewing them on Friday, and I will be letting folks know on, let me double check my calendar, what the actual date is. The 12th will be the day where everybody finds out. Yeah, you can make modifications up until then because the nice thing about publishing on Coda or sharing on Coda is that any edits you make are immediately pushed out to everywhere else. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Excellent. Any other questions, thoughts, ideas? Happy to hear them. Excellent. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I didn't see it. Oh no, I'll have to check your pub. Amazing, Alex. I'll take a look. Excellent. Of course, Freddie. It was my absolute pleasure. Best of luck, and get in touch if you need anything else. We're here to support you. Great. I will totally take a look at that. Thank you, Alex. I'll check yesterday. Beautiful. All right, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your day. I'll see you around. Have a great time. Bye, everybody.